Well, the first piece by Andrew McMillan was really quite a shock, a pleasant shock actually, because it was a kind of music that I've rarely ever heard. I've sort of imagined that it might exist, but I've never actually heard someone do it, which is this kind of combination of Pacific drumming styles and materials, rhythmic materials, with more or less wild post-Coltrane type jazz textures overlaid over it.
It sounds like a particularly wild
it was
combination. How well did it go?
It was pretty amazing. The audience, by the way, I have to point out that it was probably the most sort of packed I'd ever seen a Karlheinz Company concert. And I think it went over very well. I was certainly very impressed with it because of its kind of riskiness and wildness. It was really quite confronting and challenging and very, very loud.
Very loud.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew McMillan has a really interesting background. He was a jazz player himself till he had a severe accident 3 or 4 years ago. And since then, he's been working on more improvised music. So I guess his interest in Pacific and his background in jazz came together in this.
Yeah, it was a very interesting sort of combination of things, but it sort of thankfully managed to transcend the combination aspect of it, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah,
it was better than just overlaying jazz over Rarotongan drumming.
So what sort of instrumentation did he use to execute it?
It was baritone, saxophone, what appeared to be a trumpet in C, xylophone, marimba, vibraphone, and Rarotongan percussion, and ukulele as well.
Ukulele?
Yeah.
That sounds interesting. Now, there's one part I think you love particularly. Tell me about that.
Well, actually, there was a lot of things that I could have excerpted from Andrew's piece, but I thought the entry of the conch shells was really quite a sort of coup de théâtre. I mean, I could see them on the floor, and I knew that they were going to come in at some point. But
and you're waiting expectantly, were
you? Because they have an amazing sound. They're a very raw sound. They're out of tune with equal temperament usually, so they produce amazing resonances, and they have a raw sound which sort of matched really well with the sound of the baritone sax in particular, which was a very raw sort of style of playing. And they're in canon, so it's one of those examples where he's used a sort of quite a severe musical structure, but impure musical materials, if you like. So you've got like a pure construction out of raw materials rather than the more refined materials of the classical tradition.